Hi, my name is Zach Simmons, and this is Pro Football Today. Today I'm going to talk about the AFC East. Now, I know I mentioned this a few weeks ago. It was just going to take a week for this video to come about. It's been 3 weeks now. I'm sorry about that. With everything going on in the world, didn't think it was the right time for this video. But having it 2 weeks late, I think this will be a good time to do it. So the AFC East. This is going to be a very interesting division this year. A lot of eyes are going to be on the AFC East. The Bills have what it takes to win the division. Can the Patriots, without Tom Brady, actually make the playoffs? There's a lot of questions. And then, of course, can the Jets or the Dolphins, can they turn it around after this draft and after this free agency? So let's start by taking a look at number 4. Last place in the division. This year, I have it as the Jets. Now, if you've seen my winners and losers of free agency video, this probably won't be too much of a surprise. I thought the Jets failed this offseason. And a lot of it goes to they've never really put pieces around Sam Darnold. I can't think of another rookie quarterback that they refuse to put options around him. I mean, the Texans did with Deshaun Watson. Add Will Fuller in there as well. They went and grabbed Kenny Stills to help him out. Bills did this with Josh Allen. Bears did it with Trubisky. Even the Chargers. I mean, they had Antonio Gates around Phillip Rivers. I can't understand why they will not put pieces around Sam Darnold. In fact, if you look at a lot of the failed quarterbacks, a lot of them failed. You could argue because they didn't have anyone else around them. You can say that about Ryan Tannehill, that Devontae Parker didn't really come about, so Tannehill didn't have a top target to throw to. You could probably argue the same thing when it comes to the Vikings. Christian Ponder, he didn't have anyone to throw to. Argue that with the Browns too, with their plethora of quarterbacks that failed, that maybe they just didn't have the right guys in there. So when it comes to the Jets, I mean, they did a decent job building up the line this free agency and this draft. To go after the interior linemen and free agency and then draft Becton as a tackle, that's going to help establish the run game a little bit more than was last season, which in turn will help out Darnold. But what's going to really help out Bell, let's be honest, it's not necessarily going to be the offensive line this time around. They need to establish a passing game. Bell, I don't think he's proven that he can be, that the team can rely on him, that the team is put on his back. With his time with the Steelers, he still had Big Ben throwing to Antonio Brown, still throwing to Juju for a little brief period there. But still, Le'Veon Bell, the team has never had to depend solely on Le'Veon Bell. In fact, you can argue Le'Veon Bell has been a byproduct of a good passing game. So if you want Le'Veon Bell to succeed, you're going to need a passing game. And not trying to go against Bell here. I mean, Bell obviously is a very good running back, but he needs to have the passing game just like any other running back. You need to establish some sort of passing game to get them going. If a defense knows that you're in the ball every single play, it's going to work for maybe the first few drives. After that, they're going to stop it. You need to establish a passing game. So what do? They let Robbie Anderson go to Carolina. Remember, Bellamy and Nunwa are both on the IR. Their season's already done. So this leaves Jamison Crowder as the sole receiver. Then they go and grab Rashad Perriman, which, let's be honest, he had kind of a fluke season. Of course, when your quarterback's throwing for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, he's going to find his third-string receiver at some point, especially when there's injuries on the field like there were last season. So, of course, Perriman's going to break out a little bit. But I would also argue if Jameis Winston wasn't his quarterback, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but if Jameis Winston wasn't his quarterback, I don't think Rashad Perriman would have broke out at all last season. So I'm not expecting anything good from him this season with the Jets. Now, I will applaud the Jets for going and grabbing Denzel Mims in the second round. Finally, they get a receiver. Finally, they get someone who's capable of being a reliable target for Sam Darnold. I will admit Jameson Crowder can definitely be that guy, but we've yet to really see him become that guy. My biggest problem with the Jets is you lost your number one receiver, and really, I don't think they gained a number one receiver. I don't think they gained a reliable target, a big-bodied, reliable target that you can have open 80% of the time, like you did with Robbie Anderson. Crowder is not that kind of receiver. Mims, it's too early to tell what he can do. It's not that I don't think he can be number one receiver. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. That's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie. We haven't really seen too many of those guys, definitely taken like the second round, that have been able to prove they can be a reliable threat as a rookie. Now down the road he definitely can be, but this year there's a lot of question marks over that. So I think you can make the argument that they don't have any standout number one receivers. That's gonna hurt Darnold. That's gonna hurt Darnold. There's a reason the Bills made the playoffs last year. It's because they got the two best targets they could possibly get to help out Josh Allen, the two most reliable receivers in free agency last year, in John Brown and Cole Beasley. So of course that's going to help Josh Allen be able to excel as he did last season. When you don't have targets around your young quarterback, it's not going to work out. It just doesn't. It doesn't really matter who you have in your team. It doesn't matter if you have a good defense or not. It doesn't matter if you have a running game or not. Your team's not going to excel if you don't have the number one target. That's why the Jets down there number 4. They've had a couple years to figure this out, and they failed once again, I believe. Now, number 3, I have the Miami Dolphins here. Now, like a lot of things that the Dolphins have done, you can also argue that, well, they didn't grab a receiver. They could have used a receiver. Instead, they grabbed a cornerback that they don't need. They grabbed a corner in the first round. Still trying to figure out what was going through their minds with that. They have Byron Jones there, and they still have Xavier Howard there. Do they really need another cornerback? Could they have waited to grab one maybe in the second round or third round? I think so. Definitely seeing Jalen Johnson was available. You had a couple other guys who were available. I think were probably better options than the one they got. But I'm not going to harp too much on them not grabbing a receiver. This is why. This is why I'm harping the Jets and why I'm not harping on Miami. Very rarely do you see a team build around a rookie quarterback. Very rarely do you see a team grabbing young receivers, grabbing receivers in the draft to help out the rookie quarterback that they just drafted. You don't see that too often. Most teams, what they will do is wait a year, see how he looks, and then get talent that you know is going to work with your young quarterback. Every team does this, for the most part. Back in 2018, the Bears did this with Trubisky. After watching him, they realized we don't have a reliable target for him, so let's go out and grab Allen Robinson. Nagy, of course, loves the speed guys. That's why he had there in Kansas City, so he grabs Taylor Gabriel. They also grabbed Anthony Miller in the draft. So they grabbed 3 receivers who can be instant help to the young quarterback. Did a very good job building around Trubisky in 2018. And last year we saw what the Bills did. They grabbed, like what I said, the 2 most reliable targets in free agency, John Brown, Cole Beasley. So you bring them there to help out Josh Allen, and it worked. Josh Allen got to the playoffs, and we're seeing that this year as well with Kyler Murray. After a year, Kyler had some decent targets. Of course, Larry Fitzgerald, he had Christian Kirk, and then Isabella. Well, they go out and grab DeAndre Hopkins. So this is what a lot of teams will do. They will draft a quarterback high, and then they will build pieces around him the next season, not his rookie season. So the Jets have had a couple opportunities to do this, and they failed. They haven't done it. Miami, they haven't had an opportunity yet. We'll see what they do next offseason. If they don't grab talent to go around Tua, yes, I will call him out for not having any talent around him. You have to build around a rookie quarterback. Very rarely, or again, around a young quarterback, not necessarily a rookie quarterback. Because very rarely is a quarterback that's sole problem. A lot of times it's the entire offense. You go and grab a young quarterback who can be a leader, and then put pieces around him later. That's usually what teams do. So Miami still has a chance to do that. But I do like the receiving core they have around Tua. It's not spectacular, but it can work. Devontae Parker could be the solid number one option. We've been saying this for the last few years that he can be this, but we don't really know. We haven't seen it yet. And then Albert Wilson. Now, if you watch Bama, you know Tua loves his fast receivers. He loves throwing it deep. Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy were very, very good at this. Albert Wilson might be able to fit that. He might be able to be that on the speed burner in the middle of the field in the slot. I will expect Tua to be seeing him very often. If you're a fantasy lover, watch Albert Wilson. He might be a sleeper this year. We'll see exactly what happens there. But Miami, I think they're up and coming. They just have to do the right things next offseason. This isn't their year yet. They're not going to be up in playoff talks this year, but if they can do the right thing this next free agency, they can be very good. Maybe they can take the top spot in the AFC East. But number 2, so there's number 3, Miami Dolphins. Number 2, I'm putting the Patriots number 2. Yes, I have them losing the division this year, and it's pretty obvious why. They don't have Brady. We don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. Right now, it looks to be either Jared Stidham or Brian Hoyer. Who knows? Maybe see Cam Newton in that spot. I really don't think you're going to see Cam Newton in that spot. I don't think he meshes with Bill Belichick or Josh McDaniels. But that's a pretty big question mark. Also, I think one of the biggest reasons Brady left was because he didn't have any targets. Edelman, it's the end of his career. He's done. I think this is his last season. He's done. And Harry, he wasn't there yet. He could be something, but this year just wasn't. It wasn't the year for him. He was still trying to learn, trying to figure things out. So, what do they do when it comes to targets? Really nothing. They didn't do a whole lot. Receiving core is about the same. And defensively, you lost, of course, Jamie Collins. That one's going to hurt as well. But, of course, Belichick, he's done this before. He lets these defensive players go, and he'll find someone else to take their spot, and they end up somehow being better. That's just how things work there in New England. So that's where I have them as number 2. You could argue, well, could Miami take them out? Miami always seems to beat them every single year. Couldn't Miami maybe take them out this year and New England drops number 3? I don't think so. I'm going to give Belichick more credit than that. I think even though we can see all the losses they have, I think you can easily say that Belichick's going to find a way. I don't think it's going to be good enough for them to make it to the top. I think number 2 is a good spot for them. I do not have them making playoffs. I have them around the 8-8, 7-9, maybe 9-7. I think it's stretching it a little bit. I don't think it's going to be good enough to make the playoffs this year. Then obviously number 1, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are doing a great job. I mentioned before they built around the young quarterback. That makes a huge difference. They have a pretty good defense coming into this year as well. And then they go and grab Stephon Diggs. They traded Zay Jones last year. Now they trade for Stephon Diggs. Diggs is another great receiver. I think he's going to fit in perfectly with Buffalo. Allen loves to launch it. He loves to launch it. Every once in a while he gets that option there with John Brown, but Stephon Diggs, he's more reliable than John Brown. And John Brown's a reliable receiver. But Stephon Diggs is more reliable. He's a little bit quicker. He's going to go up for those jump balls. He's great at that. You're going to see some good things with Stephon Diggs there in Buffalo. Usually I'm a little hesitant with new receivers, going with new quarterbacks. You don't know how it's going to work. But I think Diggs will work perfectly fine in this system in Buffalo. I think he fits. I think his chemistry with Josh Allen is going to be very evident probably in the first couple of weeks. You're going to see a lot of Stephon Diggs. So great. I mean, if you want to see how to build around a quarterback, just watch the Buffalo Bills. They drafted good tight end Dawson Knox last year. They grabbed a couple receivers in free agency. They traded for Stephon Diggs. They built the line continuously. And they also tried to establish a running game. They got Devin Singletary. Last year, Frank Gore. This team, it definitely can be a top team. The biggest question is Josh Allen has some problems in big games. In games that matter, a lot of times he flops. He's not what I would call a clutch quarterback. He needs to figure this stuff out. You can argue, well, he just doesn't have the options with Diggs that could help out. That is true. But I'm a little hesitant. So don't have him going extremely high up. I think this team is capable of that, but I think Allen's going to lose a couple games for him. They're going to be down in the fourth quarter, and he's just not going to do enough to get there. So I have them, I would say 10-6. 10-6, 9-7, around that range. So probably the fourth seed. Going to the playoffs. Maybe number 3. I think their ceiling can be 11-5. I think that's stretching it. I think 10-6 is about where they can land. But that's what I have for this video. Jets number 4, Miami number 3, New England number 2, and Buffalo number 1. We'll see exactly what happens this season, but I can tell you, this is going to be an exciting division to watch. Everyone wants to see, are the Patriots done? Are they going to come back? It's not necessarily what the Jets and Dolphins are going to be able to do. Can the Bills actually win the division? It's going to be, is the Patriots dynasty over? Is it still going on? What in the world is going on there in New England? It's going to be a fun division to watch. Next week, I'm going to try to do my AFC South predictions. A lot of question marks in the South. Gardner Minshew, the option, is he the guy for Jacksonville? Is he a franchise guy there in Jacksonville? Can Phillip Rivers bring back the Colts, back to the division title? Do the Texans bring enough talent around Deshaun Watson to go back to the playoffs? And can Derrick Henry and, of course, Ryan Tannehill, can they do enough to make it back to the playoffs, make it back maybe to the Super Bowl this year, maybe getting past the conference playoffs? We'll see. But thank you so much for watching. Put your comments down there. I know I probably said something maybe you don't like, especially if you're a Dolphins or Jets fan. Don't worry about putting those in. I don't care if there's any negative comments or anything. If there's anything you liked here, put a comment in there. Before you hit the thumbs up or thumbs down button, post why. Tell me why. Why did you like this video? Why did you not like this video? Put it in there. And if you like these kind of videos, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day.